Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Marcia Butler. I am the webinar director at Advice Chaser, and I want to welcome you. Before we introduce our guests and get started, I need to do a little bit of legal housekeeping. Advice Chaser, the host of this webinar, is not a registered investment advisor. We cannot and do not give financial advice. Today's presentation is for educational purposes only and cannot be considered advice for any person's individual situation. Advice Chaser regularly hosts informative webinars, such as this one, featuring a variety of knowledgeable professionals, many of whom are licensed advisors. Any opinions, ideas, jokes, or principles expressed by presenters are their own, and however true, funny, or interesting, are not endorsed by Advice Chaser. Please do not act on the information you hear today without consulting a qualified financial professional. We're thrilled to bring you today's educational presentation. Attendees are muted, but we do encourage you to ask questions using the chat box. And I need to turn that functionality on. So let me go ahead and do that right now. All right, you should be able to chat with us. So if you have a question or a comment, go ahead and put that in the chat. If we're not able to get to your question during the webinar today, we'll make sure someone reaches out to you after today's event. All we need from you is if you can just put your contact information in the chat as well. We want this experience to be as educational as possible. So again, please don't hesitate to ask for clarification or expansion of the material. I'd love to introduce you to our presenter today. Will Smith is the owner of Innovative Financial Solutions, which provides holistic financial planning focused on helping clients identify, clarify, and simplify the process of achieving their life goals and that which is important to them through intentional engagement, systematic implementation, results-focused planning of their financial resources. Will is also the author of the book, Money Ain't the Problem, What We Do With It Is, How to Live My Best Financial Life. And Will, I'll go ahead and turn the time over to you.
Thank you, Marcia. I'm glad to be here again today with the crew that's participating in today's webinar to talk about one of the most common questions that I get as a financial professional, which is, what should a financial picture look like? And it's a great question, but there are other questions that accompany that question. So as we get started here, we want to ask some of those other questions, such as, how should finances be allocated, right? When you talk about your financial picture, we have to think about how our finances are allocated, because that's part of being organized. And just as a side note, in previous webinars, we've talked about the importance of being organized financially as one of the foundations to being successful financially. So I just thought I'd throw that plug in there. If anyone wants to refer to some of the previous webinars, you can certainly get that information. But another question is, what instruments should be used? So I get that question often. And then, when should one begin and how? So we're going to answer these questions as we go throughout this webinar today, as it relates to these things as it pertains to what should a financial picture look like. So the first thing that we learn as financial professionals in general is you have to make sure that your foundation is strong. And so when we're talking about a financial picture or a financial portfolio, you have to think about the aspect of your financial portfolio being stable and what makes it stable. In general, what makes a financial portfolio stable is the earning power of the individual who is building that portfolio. Okay, because we don't have money dropping out of the sky. Most of us don't have rich uncles, or we're not like the royal family where we get allowances, every month to take care of our expenses and what have you. Most of us, in order to build a financial portfolio, it's going to be built from our earnings. If you're fortunate enough to have an inheritance that you receive from a life insurance policy, or a family member who's passed on and left you land or houses, that's great. But for the vast majority of us, our financial portfolio is going to be built by our earning power. So we have to think about making sure that our foundation is strong. And the way that we do that is we have to understand the importance of protecting our earning power. Especially if you have a family, husband, wife, children, etc., then you have to think about what happens if someone suddenly is not available to contribute to that process of building your financial portfolio. Okay. And so the rule of thumb is you want to first think about protection. Okay. Then the second phase of the process is accumulation. And then the third phase is distribution. Distribution is typically what happens when we hit retirement. Okay. So this is the basic design of the financial house. And so we're going to go through and talk about each of these aspects of the financial house. So rule number one, protect your ability to earn. So when we're talking about what does a financial portfolio, what does a financial picture look like? Typically, people don't think about insurance as a financial product, but insurance is absolutely considered a financial product. And one of the most important things to have in your portfolio is insurance. Life insurance, health insurance, long-term care insurances. There are different types of insurance: auto insurance, homeowners insurance. Why do we have these things? We have these things because if an unexpected, untimely, unfortunate event happens in life where one of these areas are impacted, they're oftentimes high cost. If you don't have the resources to cover those high costs, then typically that means you got to borrow money. And that actually starts to put you into a hole. That creates a deficit. So we have auto insurance, we have homeowners insurance, we have health insurance. Think about if someone was to get cancer and they don't have health insurance, what the cost will become. So insurance is an important component. And again, I just gave an example with health insurance, but it also applies for life insurance, and particularly life insurance, because obviously that's a situation where if a person actually expires, that's a permanent condition. Okay, they're not coming back from that. You can recover from a health situation. You can recover potentially from an auto accident. You can recover from a water heater, air conditioning unit, roof, major damage to your roof, tree fell on it. You can recover from those things. But when someone passes away, that's a permanent condition that you don't come back from it. So having life insurance is an exceedingly important component in the protection to make sure if the breadwinner dies, there is something in place. Okay. Now we think about, again, insurances. Here's three situations. Michael J. Fox, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in his 30s. Montel Williams, a famous media personality, he was diagnosed with MS. He was probably in his 40s when that occurred. Christopher Reeves was paralyzed from a horse accident in his 30s. His wife also passed away, and he and his wife both passed away in their 40s, and they had young children. Okay, so these are examples of why it's important to make sure that the foundation is secure. These products, these instruments, these insurance instruments are used as leverage to help protect, because they provide financial resources in the event that they're triggered. They help to protect our ability to earn revenue and continue to leverage our uh, uh, monthly earnings to help us build our financial portfolio. Okay. So when we're talking about disabilities or illnesses, if that need arises, where does the money come from? If there are no protections in place, where does the money come from? Is there a plan to cover those costs? Long-term care, statistically, if a person lives to the age of 61, statistically, it's approximately 6 out of 10 people will need long-term care at some point in time in their life for some duration of time. And that's a pretty high percentage. Okay. Where does the funds come from to protect that? Are you going to have to use your retirement income? Are you going to have to use your retirement savings? Is it going to have to be pulled out of your 401ks or your IRAs? Where does the money come from? How is the care going to be provided? I've experienced this on multiple occasions in my life where a family member, because of chronic medical conditions, got to a point where they couldn't perform 2 of the 6 daily activities of living. Okay. And they were deemed to be in a situation of long-term care. Well, a family has a decision to make. Is this person going to be taken care of at home? Are they going to be taken care of in a medical facility, a long-term, an adult daycare facility, or some institution? The costs are substantially different for those two situations. If someone's going to be taken care of at home, is somebody available to watch them, to care for them, to provide them with what they need, meals, going to the bathroom, going to doctor's appointments, giving them medications or the things that they need. If you have to pay for someone to come in and do that, well, that's a cost associated with that. So whatever the situation is, it's got to be dealt with. There's got to be a plan for how it's going to be dealt with. And so we have to think about this. Again, we're talking about the foundation. All of this is a part of the foundation, because what you don't want to do is do a great job of investing and saving money, and then you get to retirement and then some unfortunate situation happens medically that puts you in a position where your resources have to be exhausted to provide long-term medical care. Social Security and Medicare don't provide long-term care. So it's something we have to individually think about in terms of protecting our retirement financial stability. All right. So rule number 2, in addition to having your foundation protected, we should have an emergency fund. An emergency fund / opportunity fund should be something that we build up. And I have a rule of thumb. If you are self-employed, I'll start there. If you're self-employed, you should at least have a year's worth of what I call monthly expenses, the basic monthly expenses: rent, mortgage, utilities, food, the necessities that you have to have in order to get by every day. So you don't have to include the cost of cable television. That's not a necessity. Unless you use your cell phone as your home phone, you don't have to include a cell phone. Hulu, Netflix, Sirius XM radio, Bally's membership, LA Fitness, all of these things are not necessities. So you figure out what your necessities are and how much that costs you per month. And then if you're self-employed, you should have a year's worth. That's my recommendation. If you have a good, stable employment source like federal government or state government, or you're a teacher, or you have some employment situation where you've been there for quite a while, it's pretty steady, it probably would take a lot for you to be terminated from that employment situation, then I'd recommend you do at least 3 months. Now, I actually recommend 6 months, but the minimum of 3 months. If you think about the pandemic, when the pandemic hit, they put all type of provisions in place to prevent people from being evicted from their homes, to prevent people from, having their utilities and things like that turned off and disconnected. Because if you think about what happened during the pandemic, people who were in the hospitality industry were hit pretty hard. Restaurants, cruise industries, Las Vegas and all those kind of things, hotel industry, they were hit very hard, and they were hit for longer than 3 months. So while the PPP loans and all those type of things, were provided to help offset some of that, many of those people struggled and got really behind. So I recommend 6 months, but at least a minimum of 3 months. Okay. And we call this emergency opportunity fund because in addition to emergencies, there may be some things that come up that you might want to be able to spend money on, and you don't want to have to go into debt for it. So you build enough of a cushion to give you the ability to tap into it for things that are important. Okay. And so that's why we call it emergency opportunity fund. Okay. So that's rule number 2. Rule number 3, save, save, save. Okay. As much as you can, as often as you can, starting as soon as you can. And it doesn't have to be a large amount of money. Savings is savings. And when we start factoring in interest and the compounding effect, even if you put, monies in a CD or something, especially with interest rates now, okay, you'll earn a little bit of growth on your money. But the principal idea is to save money. There are different vehicles available that we can use to save money. Obviously, you can use your savings accounts. You can use CDs and things of that nature. There are bonds that you can put money into to save money. But you want to save, and you want to save as often and as much as you can. And I like to tell people you should have a plan for why you're saving and how you're saving. But ultimately, to build your portfolio, your financial portfolio up, you got to have money. And where's that money going to come from? It's not going to come from the money that you spend. It's only going to come from the money that you save. So when should I start? Preparing your financial future should begin as soon as you begin earning income. I taught this to my children, and I teach this to young folks. As soon as you start working, get in a habit of saving money. My children, actually, I started them even before they started working. I started them with allowances and, different things where me being self-employed, I was able to have them come in and clean up my office, shred papers, vacuum the floors, empty the trash, clean up the bathrooms, pay them some money, and then start them on a process of understanding how to save. I have a 35-year-old son, soon to be 36. He and his wife, he in particularly, has over 6 figures worth of assets saved up already, and he's only in his mid-30s. You won't, and he doesn't have a 6-figure job. You won't find that to be common amongst people in their 30s. As a matter of fact, you won't even find that to be common among people in their 40s. The average 40-year-old person does not have $100,000 saved up in retirement. Okay, that's just a fact. So starting early has benefits because it helps to shape a thought process, right? But you want to start as early as you can. You want to identify what you have to work with. Okay, this goes back to getting organized. What are your bills? What are your expenses? What's your discretionary revenue, not disposable? I don't use the word disposable income because disposable means to throw away. And we live in a society that has conditioned us to operate with the term disposable income. And as a financial professional, I can say comfortably that the average person actually throws money away, much more than what they realize, because they think of money as being disposable. I don't use that term. I use discretionary. Let's talk about what your discretionary revenue is, and let's enlist that money in an effective, precise way based on what you want to get accomplished. So you identify what you have to work with. and develop a plan to begin that process. I recommend involving a professional unless you happen to be really astute and really sharp with finances. If you are, great, you can be a do-it-yourselfer. Most people are not. And so it's helpful to get guidance because there's different strategies, there's different products, there's different instruments that can be used to help you to do this. And if you don't know about that information, then you need to get that from a professional, just like talking to an attorney, just like talking to, an auto professional if you need to figure out what you need to repair your car, right? It doesn't matter what the discipline is. Oftentimes, people specialize in those areas for a reason, and we should take advantage of those resources to help us. So no amount is too small to get started. If all you have is $5 a month, then start with $5 a month. No amount is too small to get started. Rule number 4, diversify. The best investment is the one that provides you with the most money at the time when you need it the most. Okay, so I don't have a rule of thumb, or let me say it a different way. I don't have a one-size-fits-all formula for the specific instrument that should be in a financial portfolio. That's going to vary based on who you are as an individual. What's your risk tolerance? What's your time horizon? What's your living, your lifestyle like? Okay, what are your goals? Your situation is going to dictate what instruments make the most sense for you. Okay, so everybody doesn't necessarily need to have a portfolio mixture of bonds, stocks, mutual funds, and these types of things. That's not an accurate depiction of what the typical financial portfolio should look like. Your portfolio should look like what's going to work the best for you based on your situation. Are you in your 20s? Are you single? Are you 43 and you are a single parent with no spouse? Are you a husband and wife? Are you a husband and wife with children? Are you a single person who's taking care of an elderly parent? Like, what's your situation? Do you have a 6-figure job? Do you and your spouse have a 6-figure job? Are you self-employed? Like, every situation is going to warrant its own individual assessment as to what's going to be the best way for you to build your financial portfolio, for you to diversify your financial portfolio. Okay, I do believe in diversity because there should be a variety of things that you have in place that's supporting your ability to accomplish what you want to accomplish. But inevitably, your situation is going to dictate that. Now, obviously, mutual funds, stocks, exchange traded funds, using annuities and IRAs. And I really shouldn't even say that because annuities and IRAs are just a box. Okay, what you put in the box is the money. Okay, it's a designation that's signed by the IRS for tax purposes, so they're treated a certain way, right? 401k is a box, IRA is a box, annuity is a box, Roth IRA is a box, 403b is a box. It's I call it a box. It's something that you put money into, and then there are rules that govern how that box is used, but ultimately the money that you put in it is going to have several options. In an annuities, there's fixed annuities, there's variable annuities, there's index annuities, all right? Excuse me. An IRA, you can have mutual funds in an IRA, you can have stocks in an IRA, you can have ETFs in an IRA, you can have real estate in an IRA. Okay, those items, what do we call them? Those instruments are going to dictate how the money grows inside of the box. So selecting the right box for your situation is where talking with a financial professional can help you. And then understanding how to identify the instruments that are going to be best to help you accomplish your goals is also why talking to a financial professional is helpful. Okay. I have people who their sole strategy is real estate to, help them to get where they want to go. And I know people who they are enjoying retirement right now. They don't have any mutual funds, they don't have any stocks, they don't have any IRAs, they don't have any of those types of instruments. They accomplish what they wanted to accomplish through acquiring real estate. And now that real estate is providing them with the quality of life that they want to live. So it's no one size fits all. It depends on the individual. So now, having said that, there's two types of investments in general. There's active and passive. Okay, I keep it simple because while we can talk about, again, annuities, ETFs, hedge funds, we can talk about all those things. At the end of the day, they fall into one of two categories. Active investments are investments that depend on continuous effort from you to generate returns. Okay, I myself invest in real estate, and I think I've shared this on previous webinars. I invest in real estate in a different way than most people do. I lease commercial office space and then I sublease that space back out. So I identify commercial offices that are vacant or that have been vacant for a while, that have motivated landlords who are, tired of the space being vacant. I assess it to see if it meets the criteria of what I'm looking for. I then enter into a negotiation process with that landlord. If they meet my terms, then I'll secure it with a lease. I will then do whatever renovations or adjustments or modifications that I need to the real estate, and then I'll sublease it back out to small business owners who are not looking for 2,500 square feet, but who just need an individual office to run their accounting business, to run their insurance business, to run their limousine business, to run their to do barbering, to do eyelashes, or whatever business they have, as an attorney or a mental health therapist, right? There are the current climate of employment has changed significantly over the past 20 to 30 years. And there are many more people who are solopreneurs. There are one-person employment situations where they need an office. They don't need an office building. They need just an office. They don't want to work out of their home. They don't want to have people come into their homes. And in some cases, like an insurance agent, they can't have people come to their homes. They're partnering with Geico and Allstate and Progressive, and they require them to have an office, but they don't need a 1,500 square foot office. They need a 10 by 10 office, a 12 by 8, office or something like that. And those types of spaces aren't abundant. Most commercial office environments lease large spaces. They don't lease individual offices. So I've created a niche for myself in the real estate, commercial real estate, and that's one of my businesses. Okay. That's an active investment because I'm actively involved in that. So trading stocks for a person who's a day trader, they want to trade stocks or currencies. You can also trade currencies. That's an active investment. Multi-level marketing or network marketing. A.L. Williams and what's they got travel network marketing businesses, and they got health food network marketing businesses, and all different types of stuff. Those are active investments. And then of course things like international trade. So, and these just to name a few, there are many others, but these are things that require your continuous effort in order for there to be returns. And then of course there's passive investments where you put your money in it and you don't do anything, just hope that it goes in the right direction. Okay. Rental properties are a passive investment. They can be an active, but for the most part, they are passive. Once you get the real estate up and running and you put a tenant in there, for the most part, they're passive. You can hire a management company. I have clients who do it that way. They own 4, 5, 6, 7 properties. They have a management company. So it's really hands off. The management company calls and says, hey, one of your windows is broken. They say, okay, hire the contractor, send me the bill, I'll pay it, but it's pretty much hands off. Mutual funds, exchange traded funds, you put money in it, you hope the market does well, hands off. Buy and hold stocks. Again, you buy some Marriott, you buy some Tesla, you buy some Amazon, and you hope that the market goes in the right direction, but you're really not doing anything actively. And of course, same thing with CDs, IRAs, bonds, etc. So those are passive investments. Depending on your situation, passive investments actually may be something you want to have in your portfolio. But you just have to understand what your situation is, what your goals is, to help you make a decision as to whether a passive, active, or a combination thereof is right for you. So where can I invest my money? Well, in your passive and active investments, you have three basic types. You have non-qualified money. That's money that you pay taxes on right away. Stocks, bonds, unless they're municipal bonds, regular bonds, CDs. Those are things that once you have a profit, you pay taxes on it, okay, right away. Then you have tax deferred investments. These are the things that you don't pay taxes on right away. You pay taxes on it when you take the money out at a later date. Of course, IRAs, 401ks, those types of things, they have age restrictions on when you can take the money out without penalty. 59 and a half is that age restriction. And then 72, well, essentially 73 now, is when you have to have RMDs. So if you put the money in an IRA or 401k or something like that, and you decide to just let it stay in there as long as possible, the government says at the age of 73, you must start taking money out or we're going to penalize you. So they penalize you if you take it out too soon, and they penalize you if you leave it in too long. That's the way our government works. Nonetheless, those are qualified money instruments, and then you have non-qualified monies that's never taxed. So we have tax now, tax later, tax never. Those are municipal bonds, Roth IRAs, permanent life insurance. A lot of people don't know that you can use a life insurance product as a financial vehicle. Okay, there are variable life insurances, there are index life insurance products, there are universal life insurance products where it provides you a death benefit, but you can also put money into it. You can add money to it on a recurring basis to help build the savings component of it. And any money, as of the current tax laws, any monies that you put into a life insurance product, once you go to take the money out, it's not taxed. With a Roth IRA, there are rules that govern it. Once you set it up, it has to be in place for at least 5 years. But then after it's in place for 5 years, any money that you put into it, you can actually withdraw from it without any penalties because it's your principal amount of money. So this is actually a great instrument to use for college funding. You can only put $6,000 a year into it, depending on what your age is. But if you wanted to set one of these up for a child who you're not sure if they're going to go to college, and you don't want to do a 529 because of the penalties for not using it for college, you can use a Roth IRA, $6,000 a year. If you start again early, child is 2 years old or something like that, well, that could be a nice chunk of college savings by the time they graduate. And if they don't decide to use it for college, maybe they want to go to a trade school, maybe they go into the military, maybe they go into business and they need the startup capital to go into business. Gives you a lot of flexibility. Okay, so again, these are the non-qualified, or should I say the tax now, tax later, tax never instruments. But again, there is any combination of these that can be active or passive, because you can use an IRA and you can put real estate in an IRA, it becomes an active investment. Okay, so these will vary. Right? So one of the things we have to think about is inflation and the impact that inflation has on our investments. If we want to have a secure retirement, there's one of two things that's going to have to happen. Either we're going to have to, well, I guess one of three things. Either you're going to have to be fortunate enough to have somebody leave you a lot of money, or for you to hit the lottery, or come into, some amazing situation that puts you in a place where you have enough money to take care of you for life. That's one option. Or you're going to have to earn a very, 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 very high salary for the majority of your working career, so that the amount of money that you can save is not dependent upon growth. Okay, meaning, give you an example. If you earn $250,000 a year, starting at age 25, and you can save $100,000 a year, and you do that to age 65, you'll be okay. You'll have enough money to where you don't even have to get growth. You'll have enough money that you'll probably be able to live a comfortable retirement. However, that's not the norm. So the other option is what most of us will have to do. Invest our money and invest it wisely so that we get growth on it, and that growth has to outpace inflation. So this is showing you how, just from 1972 to 2007, how inflation has impacted the cost of goods. In essence, approximately every 20 years, things double. Now, there are some things that vary, but in general, approximately every 20 years, the cost of living doubles. If you even think about where we are right now, and especially with this most recent trend of inflation that we've had for the past couple of years. So inflation had been low for a long time. And 2021 to the present time has more than made up for those years where inflation was really low. Okay. So in essence, that pattern still continues. So right now, if you look at the cost, the average cost of a new car, it's about close to $50,000, between $45,000 and $50,000. Okay. In 2020, or in 2028, I'm sorry, 2007, it showed that it was about 28,000, right? So if you fast forward to the present, it's about $45,000 to $50,000. We can apply this with almost everything. As a matter of fact, let me share something else with you real quick here. Let's see. In 1960, the average cost of a new home was $12,700. In 1980, it was $68,700. In 2000, it was $119,600, and in 2020, it's over $400,000. So the cost of homes has doubled every 20 years or more. New car, here we go. I said 1960, 2,600, 1980, 7,200, 2000, 21,850, 2020, about 45. Okay. Gas, 1960, 25 cents. Oh boy, how I would love to have that again. 1980, $1.19. 2000, $1.26. 2020, over $2. And now currently, I just got gas this morning, $3.29. Okay. I'll do one more. Cost of hamburger, 45 cents in 1960, 99 cents in 1980, $2.46 in 2000, $4 in 2021. So again, if you look at the pattern, approximately every 20 years, cost of living doubles. So we have to think about that when we're planning for the future. If your investments aren't outpacing inflation, then your purchasing power is being diminished, even if your money is growing. So your $1,000 doesn't go as far 20 years from now as it will today. So that's got to be taken into consideration when you think about what your financial portfolio should look like, because it's got to accomplish the mission. And the mission is to put you in a position where you have financial security. Okay. Next slide. So a retirement plan is something very deliberate. Most people don't have a plan. Most people have hope. I want to retire at a certain age, and I want to be comfortable. That's hope. A plan is very specific. A plan understands I have to factor in inflation and how it's going to impact my ability to live comfortably. A plan understands I have to think about long-term care and the possibility that I could need long-term care. A plan understands I could pass away at 41 years old and leave my wife, who's a stay-at-home wife, and 3 children in a situation where now they have to scramble to survive. A plan thinks about all of that stuff, and then it takes the appropriate course of action to try to do what's necessary to achieve the goal. So when we talk about this and we're putting it in perspective of retirement, I got to know when I want to retire. I got to know how long I want my money to last in retirement. I have to think about, how do I want to live? Am I going to live in the DC metro area where the cost of living is substantially higher than if I was to move to, a rural part of South Carolina? Or do I want to live in a retirement community in Florida? How do I want to live? Do I want to travel? Do I have children and grandchildren that spread across the country that I want to go see from time to time? How do I want to live my life, and what's that going to cost me? Those things have to be thought out and mapped out as a part of a plan. And inevitably, that plan will then dictate what instruments I use, what strategies I use, and what my actual financial portfolio looks like. What items I want in it, what items I want to use, how aggressive I want to be, how much liquidity do I need, how much leverage do I need, etc. All of those things go into answering the question of what financial portfolio or financial picture should look like. And ultimately, if you answer those questions and you put specific things in place, as I mentioned, or as Marche mentioned, my focus is to help people to identify, clarify, and simplify the process of achieving their life goals and that which is important to them. For most people, one of their life goals is to retire. For most people, what's important to them is financial security. For most people, what's important to them is to be able to take care of their loved ones and to provide a suitable, adequate quality of life. And so I believe that that's done through intentional engagement, not random, not haphazard, not hope, but intentional engagement. So a plan should be intentional. Okay. I believe that there should be a process. So a systematically implementing a process to accomplish the things that we set out to accomplish, right? And it should be based on results. What results are we trying to accomplish? Okay, that's what planning does. And that's ultimately how a person is able to get to where it is that they want to be. And that will help to shape what the financial portfolio look like. So in conclusion, we want to protect and preserve our quality of life because that's what our resources should do. We want to provide ourselves with the ability to weather the uncontrollable risk of life. Things happen. Okay. COVID gave us, if COVID didn't do anything else for life, it taught us that the unknown is real and we have to be able to prepare for it. Okay. And then, of course, we want to make sure that we can provide ourselves with a stable financial future for ourselves and the people who we care about. That's the goal. And that's what a sound financial picture should do for us.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Will. We have a couple minutes for questions before we have to end, and we'll go ahead and take those now. Here's the first question. How do you know if you're with the right financial advisor for you?
So a financial advisor client arrangement is a relationship. And a good financial advisor listens to you, but a good financial advisor also makes a concerted effort to understand you and to understand what's important to you. Their engagement with you is personally professional, if that makes sense. Okay, meaning they take an interest in what's important to you. They take an interest in what you care about. They take an interest in things that are sensitive to you. They take an interest in, things like your parents, your family, your children, your relatives. So you want a financial advisor who has a personal interest in you. I call it a personal professional interest in you, because that person is going to listen to you. They're going to be proactive in their communication with you, and they're going to be like a doctor. Your doctor, when you go to the doctor, think about this. When you go to the doctor, all you know is something is hurting. What the doctor starts doing is poking and prodding and asking you questions. And by the time you come out of the doctor has actually made you think about something that you wasn't even conscious of sometimes, and then provided you with a solution to help you address that particular issue. And so financial advisor should be similar to that, but they should also be like your lawyer. They should also be like your insurance agent. They should also be like your therapist, a person who cares about you. If you find that, then you got a good advisor. Of course, they need to know what they're doing as well.
All right. And then one more question here. You've talked a lot about having kind of a whole financial picture. They wanted to go back to this financial house. Can you talked a lot about protection. Can you talk about just briefly the accumulation and distribution?
Sure. So the accumulation is basically the time period of your life where, and I mentioned this briefly, where you're earning money. That money that you're earning is the money that ultimately is going to position you for where you want to be later in life. And so during the accumulation phase, this is where I talked about, depending on your situation, will depend on which of these strategies will work best for you, whether that's investing in mutual funds, investing in a 401k through your employer. If you're self-employed, having a different investment strategy that could involve real estate. And there's no one specific way to do that. Okay. I use myself as an example by using commercial real estate. I use another couple they did actually residential real estate. I know other people who've done tax lien sales, right? So I just gave three different examples of how to accumulate monies using real estate. But again, there are many other different avenues. Ultimately, it's about what's going to work best for you and what you're comfortable with. But that's what the accumulation phase is about. The distribution phase is, hopefully you can get to that point where now you're managing how your money is going to take care of you. Social Security will be a part of that for most people, but most people don't have a pension anymore. Outside of the federal government, outside of state governments and things of that nature, and some corporations, probably 85% of Americans don't have pension plans. So where's your money going to come from when you retire? Social Security is what most people live off of, and Social Security for most people is not adequate for them to live the quality of life that they want to live. And so ultimately what ends up happening is they're just getting by. And oftentimes they need help from family, social programs, Medicaid, or things like that to actually help them, to get by. And so the distribution phase is directly related to what you do in the accumulation phase. And you ultimately want to get to a point where you have the ability to comfortably extract money from wherever those resources are that you put in place to help you to live the quality of life that you want to live once you get to the retirement. That's the distribution phase. And you have
All
to
right.
you have to think about, last thing on that, you have to think about taxes as well, because depending on what type of instrument you use, there are going to be tax implications. So you have to factor that into the equation.
Well, that's a good place to end. I want to thank everyone for being here at our webinar today. Look to your email for a link to the replay of this event, and you're welcome to share that replay with friends and family. Here at Advice Chaser, we're all about helping you find a financial advisor who's a great fit for your life and your financial questions. Our matching service is free to you, and every one of our advisor partners has committed to offer a free initial consultation to anyone we introduce them to. Find out more by going to advicechaser.com and clicking on the link to find an advisor. Well, Will, thanks again for being here. And we want to thank the organizations that have made this webinar possible today. And to those attendees, please reach out if you have any questions, and we hope to see you at another webinar soon. Goodbye, everyone.